Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome back to another video. And in this one I'm going to give you all a walkthrough of FDE, and all the information that I have is specific to FDE. So let us just start into it without wasting much of time. So to structure this video, what I thought is initially I will talk about the general layout of FDE and what it all depicts, and after that I will just go through some posts of mine, that post review thing that I used to do, because I don't find any other way to explain FDE. Obviously I cannot explain it in just a video because I have already compressed it, and it is kind of very subtle things. It can be seen in everything if you have the eyes to see it. So that's why I'm not gonna cover. I don't think I can cover it in a single video, so I'll just tell you the basics that I know about it, the overlying factors, how it is designed, and what the some scientific things mean for the ones who are not that scientific. So so now talking about why you should read FDE and what is FDE and why I made it. So initially, after all of my realizations that I had about this new world that I was into, that is the world of spiritual, I wrote all of this realization in this form. I chose the scientific form of Feynman diagram because at that time I was too much into quantum physics and I was reading all these concepts, and the only language that I knew good enough to write the things was of physics, was of quantum physics. That's why I wrote it in this format. And to justify it, why I still hold on to this format is I have seen a lot of biographies of various scientists, and especially in the physics field, and in spite of having a lot of intellect, they suffer a lot in their life because they don't have good amount of wisdom. But this FDE talks about wisdom as well after element 6, that is 7, 8 and 9, 10. So it's not so it is very good thing for those intellects, because everyone have some specific kind of things that lures me. Like for example, I like computers, so anything related to computers and AI would lure me for sure. So that is my base thought, that Feynman diagram talking about spirituality with respect to quantum physics might lure some people. That's why I still kept my base of FD in this form. I will for sure write a book, and that book name would be From Illusion to Reality, in which I will be kind of talking about FD only, because this thing is like everything I know, everything that exists. So everything that I make in my further life, everything that I have made, everything will come and merge into this at some point. We'll have talkings about this in some point. So it's like the central point of all of my creation. So talking about FD in short, so you can refer it as Gita if you want, or any of the holy religion book that you follow, be it of Bible, be it of Quran, whatever you follow, be it of Buddhism. So these are the same concepts that are written in that. It's just in a very different and advanced form, because what happened with me is I realized all of those stuffs and wrote them in this very weird and different form. So talking about FDE in a single line, like it's already in very much compressed form, but if you want to compress it even more to make a post out of it, like I made it right now. So here is it: a spiritual enlightened existence in true reality with realization of enchantments and illusions through their perceived knowledge. This is true you. So the FD is all about knowing who are you. Like that is what I did. I had this one question, who am I, and that led me to all this. Again, I am using another scientific analogy of cosmology, because as I said, the peoples of scientific community always suffer with this problem of not having enough wisdom. So this is again a form. If you want to compare and understand, you can. So this FD can be seen in other aspects of spirituality and the books that you might read as well. For example, it can be seen in the chakra thing that many talk about in general. So I have already put all this thing in my stories, so if you want you can go and check it out there. But if you just want to refer, I can just put it all here. You can just refer it here and just pause and read. I don't think it needs explanation, it's already very clear. So this is how it's all defined. This is how it relates to FDE. Everything that is related to spirituality, be it of Gita or be it of any other stuff, is related to FDE. There's a thing called Astavagrita that is related to FDE. So this FD basically have two ways to look at into this. FD is not about the destination, it's about the path, it's about all these elements, not just about the element 10. So that is why I wrote the same thing in this FD explanation first paragraph, that it's not like peak of one element is another element. It's not about getting somewhere, it's not about getting to know a specific thing. It is about the whole journey. It's about all the realizations that you have throughout the path. So there are two ways to travel the path, or a path is always bidirectional. So you can either go from 1 to 9, or you can go from 9 to 1. So it's all up to you how you want to travel it. I even wrote this thing. If you wanna read it, I hope you read and understand all these things here. So there are two ways to understand it. And so if you want to get in the terminologies of Gita, then the path that you have to follow from 1 to 9 is Dhyan Yoga, and from path from 9 to 1 is Bhakti Yoga. There is one another part that is defined in my religion in Gita, that is Karma Yoga, that would be element 3 and 4 in a loop. I did not really talk about that in anywhere in any sense, because it's all very much world related, this physical world related, and it does not really lead you to the realization of many of the elements properly. So it's like you can do it if you are not well in the first two. It's like the third option, you can understand. So that's why I did not mention it. But again, the point where I have talked about element 3 and 4, you can clearly see that it is kind of big with respect to all other paragraphs, and I have tried to put more focus on it, because it's all the worldly and materialistic stuff that you can find in this FDE. And yeah, so now coming about the some aspects of this. So symmetry can be seen everywhere in this FDE. There are 10 elements, so you can see like till 6 it is totally based on intellect, from 7 to 10 it is based on wisdom. There are two aspects of it. As I said in my last update video, that everything has two aspects, so does this FD have. So till element 6, that is spirituality, you are totally based on intellect. You are using just your intellect to get all the steps that you want, to do the introspection, to do the questioning from yourself. Then from 7 to 10 onwards, you kind of move toward wisdom, so it's like a different thing. So there's again two things are there. Polarity of the nature is obeyed, and except that there are a duplet kind of things, like element 1 2 have one significance meaning in their whole, like element 1 have its meaning and element 2 have its meaning, and element 1 2 together have a different meaning. Then 3 have a meaning and 4 have a meaning, and then 3 4 together have meaning, what we call karma yoga in our mythology. Then same goes for 5 6, then 7 8, then 9 10. So that's how it works. I have tried to keep it with respect to, if you read about this Feynman diagram, you'll already get to know all these things that I'm talking about. Like the same things are followed by Feynman diagram as well. So these are the some important things that are followed in this FD. Okay, so starting from element 1. So element 1 is of knowledge. You get all of the knowledge of this world, and by knowledge I don't mean of a specific field like computer or physics. I mean of humans and mind, like introspection kind of stuff. So again, you should not refer this with respect to psychology. You can say a bit of philosophy, because now I know the terminology. Initially when I did all this stuff, when I had all these realizations and wrote this thing, then I did not even knew about the word of philosophy and many other words that I could have wrote in this and would have made it more sensible. I would do that in the book that I'm going to write. So one is knowledge, or getting the philosophical part of this world. And whatever I write in this, I the first 1 to 9 path is without any guide, so you'll have to do it all by own. So for getting the knowledge, the thing that you can do is learn from the world, and by learning from the world I mean observe people, how they're working, what they're doing, why they're doing. Try to use your intellect in the best form you can. It is mentioned in most of the scriptures that to follow this path, to follow Dhyan Yoga, you need to have a very strong focus and intelligence. So I guess it was with me while working on my theory, but whatever, I think it worked. And if you want to follow this way of Dhyan Yoga, then you gotta have that, because for observing people and for meditating and for doing stuff that are not really liked by people, you'll have to have a strong intellect, and I would say strong desire to do this stuff. So you first will have to get knowledge by the philosophical knowledge of how people work. I won't recommend to get it from the book. If you are following path 1 to 9, I would recommend it to get by observing people and analyzing their behavior, observing yourself and analyzing your behavior, using all of the mind you got, all of the intellect you got, to know what steps you are doing. So after that, you got process that knowledge in a perception form. I just cannot explain it properly. You should read it. What's the difference between the perception of knowledge? Like knowledge is information, understanding, and perception. But again, I wrote perception for a reason. So you must read it here. The perception of knowledge, like why you should give it even more time. Like there's difference between knowing a thing and having perception of it. So that's what I mean by perception. So when you'll have the perception of the knowledge, then as it's written in stoicism, you'll kind of become stoic at this level only. Like I have made this FD very short. In various Gita it has taken like way 10 20 chapters just to cover this much of topic. And talking about relevancy of it, so you can also find some relevancy of it in Gita. There is this Ashtavak Gita that I have made comparison to. I will put up the picture of it right now so you can see. So after element 2, you will automatically lose your illusions, and all of your enchantment will automatically won't exist if you won't be in the illusions. That is, अगर माया नहीं होगा तो मोह नहीं होगा. So you'll become decentral without even trying to become decentral. So after that, you'll just have to realize your decentral state, what you are not, what you have understood all of this world, but yet you'll have to realize it. There's difference between perception. It's like utmost form of knowledge, like information and then perception and then realization. Realization is like getting the essence of the knowledge that you have got, getting the essence of the perception. Then element 6 is of spirituality, that is knowing what you are not, like increasing the questioning ability. Like in element 1 and 2, you observe people of the outside world, you try to understand them, but in this spirituality, you like move very much inside, because you have already understood and realized all of the external world stuff, and you get to know what you are not and what you thought you were and was just an illusion, all this stuff. And then you become enlightened, because after, like, there's a milestone around here, and then you become enlightened and you get your own existence, the true existence, and then that existence in continuous form is reality, and you finally find you. I know the way I put it up is like very different and very weird with respect to how people put it, but that is, I don't want to make it too hyped up, because people already have made it too hyped up in the mythology that I have read, and I guess that's fear people, so I don't want to keep it in too technical terms. Now coming to the very important part that people mostly don't talk about in general when talking about the path 1 to 9. I won't be talking much about the path 9 to 1, because it's already written in various books, in various Vedas, in various Gitas, in various mythological books of Buddhism and all. So like it's already there in various forms, so I don't think it's very relevant to talk. 1 to 9 is not really mentioned many places, so that's why I used to talk about it. So 1 to 9 have prices to pay, like that's not mentioned in the books. So there are this specific kind of things, that is what I call sacrifices and prices. So before going into the terminologies, let me clarify the differences between sacrifices and prices that I think should be there. So I don't know about English, but actually there are two different things that I convey using two words, sacrifices and prices. I don't know if it is correct as per English. I just didn't want to introduce any new words of my own again. I don't think it was a mistake, because if I would, things would become more complicated, and I have already introduced various words and various terminology that makes things complicated for many people. So sacrifices are inevitable with respect to path 1 to 9 or 9 to 1. You'll have to give sacrifices in both of them, like there's no other way to avoid it. And with respect to path 9 to 1, you can avoid the prices, not the sacrifices. Difference between prices and sacrifices you'll get to know. I've written in this also. So sacrifices, they aren't actually any losses, but felt at specific time. They are the main aim to get. Prices are evitable, it can be avoided. They are the actual losses one can feel, that are lifelong until the last one. They are the path to that main aim. It's if there's a guide, things get smooth. So what I mean by prices is the real events that happen with you, the real shock that you get, the real effect that you have on your real life, those are prices. And sacrifices are the feelings of those, the realization of those that you get. That's sacrifices. Like internal stuff that happen, that's sacrifices, and the external stuff that happen, that's our prices. So now talking about those sacrifices and prices, so you can just read it. I don't think I need to read all of it. That's why I underlined. So read both simultaneously if you can differentiate properly. So it again points to my last thing that I talked in my video of updates. Try to get the coherent sources. So if you want to go with my path of FDE, you can go. If you don't want, you are free. You are like very free to go by another path. And to be honest, I won't even suggest you to go by this path, because it is just for like basic information, not for something to follow. Because as I said, 9 to 1 path, that is the one of guide, is meant to be followed. If you want to talk about the holy books in my language, so the books like Upanishad that are very huge, that are very lengthy, those are like proper explanation of all these topics that I wrote in FDE. Then there are Vedas that are a bit explanation, but not that much. Then there are some critical kind of Gitas like Ashtavak Gita, and then there's this thing I wrote. So it's like concept is same as it goes with meditation, the core concept, the elemental things are same everywhere. It's just that the way it is represented changes, and the way of representations matter a lot if you are new to this field, and if you're trying to get somewhere doing all this stuff. So choose a path that's defined by the ones who have very much experience with respect to expressing themselves. I'm not that good with respect to expressing myself, so that's why I made FDE. And even though I write my book, I won't suggest anyone to follow that. I would just like that you read it for understanding in the general sense of this thing that is spirituality and enlightenment. So don't, and if you want to go, as I wrote in my last video, don't follow both way. Don't jump on two boats. Be on one, stick to one. And talking about the generalized factor of sacrifices, then one sacrifice per two element, no price for those sacrifices if you follow the defined path of 9 to 1, what's written in Gitas and Vedas. So again, you can just read about them all of the year. I don't want to read it all. First sacrifice, like if you read in this, only you'll get to know. First sacrifice for element 1 and 2, extra 3 4 is included because it's not really element, it is just a spin-off kind of thing. To destroy everything old from new, that is to clear all beliefs and understanding. So this is the internal thing that will happen to you. Since I didn't have in this, I wrote kind of my personal stuff also, because I don't think that is that much relevant to me. Like that goes with prices all the time. Sacrifices will be there, like the internal things that hurt you will remains with you for a while, but these prices will affect you in that moment. But like after 4 years, I'm like way over all the prices that I can even talk about it and show it in a video. So like these are the things that I did. I'm just telling you, I'm not telling you to follow. I'm just telling you what I went through and what did I do, if you want to know, that's all. So this is the first sacrifice, and this second, you can read it. I hit this part because I really don't want to talk about it. I guess it is way too personal, and not because it is way too personal that would affect me in the moment, like emotionally. It's like I'm way too over it. It is kind of the last sacrifice. It's just because it would affect other person's privacy and stuff, so that's why I don't want to talk about it. So you can read about it, and I don't think I need to talk about anything much more in this. So I hope you're pausing the screen and reading, because it really matters. That's why I did. Okay, I should be quiet. I'm trying to make things fun so that it becomes good for you all. I hope you're pausing and reading. Okay, so this poem is very important. I hope you have read it. So all the true sacrifices stuff, it captures in this one poem all of the sacrifices and how it affected me also in some sense. So I hope you read this poem very properly. It will kind of encompass all of those screenshots in one. So have a look at this also. So that's all. I hope you have read. So there are basically 10 elements, that is, you can say 8, because element 3 and 4 are Karma Yoga. I cannot explain properly in this video. If you read the FDE, you'll get to know, or wait for my book. So there are 8 elements. So since there are doublets kind of thing that I talked about, so there are 4 sacrifices, and each sacrifice have 2 prices. So it's basically like every element have 1 price to pay. I wrote this in the screenshot if you read. So now let's come to the part of discussing the screenshot that I have. Meme review. It's meme review time, like PewDiePie does, but different. So before you heal someone, ask him if he is willing to give up the things that made him sick. But it takes a lot for one to realize that what is making him sick. So again, I wrote this with respect to the FDE only, because FDE is the solution to everything that exists in this external world, because FDE is realizing who you are, and that's like the greatest thing possible. So but again, if you don't want to cure yourself, and if you don't want to give up all the illusionary thing that exists in this world, as if you don't want to give the sacrifices, you cannot do anything. Like, keep this in mind very properly. Whichever path you follow, you'll have to give the sacrifices. So again, this is what he meant by if he is willing to give up the things that made him sick. So giving up the things that made you sick are the sacrifices. Okay, you have to die a few times before you can really live. So life and death, relative term. If you want to ask about it to me in a sentence, I would say it's all the time. Without death, there is no meaning to life. There are a lot of philosophy. If you are going by the path of one, you must already have read it. So uh, talking about this, what I want to refer is with respect to my FTE is that after each sacrifice, that is after a couple of elements, yeah, really couple of elements, you'll kind of die. Yeah, so that's what you can refer as reincarnation. That is referred in many books that some gods have reincarnation. So that is what reincarnation is for me, and literally I felt it. It's like dying. It's literally like dying. So when you go from one like after having knowledge and perception, when all of your illusions and enchantments go away from you, you literally feel like dying, because you literally lose all the interest, all the enchantments, all the things that bind you to this world, from your parents, from your friends. So you, in a sense, you literally die at this moment. So you have to die a few times, that is, you'll have to give sacrifices before you can properly understand everything, before you can be capable enough to live. So again, with respect to and regarding sacrifices, those are important. Next one, the saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. So again, you must refer my DSW for that, because it is talking about the same stuff but in a very fancy and different way. I don't have it here. So how it is the saddest part? Because it's not about what you know, it's about what you can do with what you know. And by knowledge, I mean everything. So it's not about power, it's about how you use that power. So you cannot use your power properly if you don't have wisdom, and that's the saddest part, because science is gathering knowledge, that is power, but not gathering wisdom, that is how to use it properly for peace. I mean, like, you can use it for your own interest, but that's not for peace at all. So yeah, this is a sad thing, because this intellect gives you power, like at the spirituality level, at element around 6, around element 6, you'll feel way too powerful than you really are, because you'll have understanding of all human mind tricks. So you'll be a great illusionist. You'll know you'll be reading minds of others, because you'll know how they will react to such a certain thing. So that's what I guess it is referred to as reading people's mind and stuff. So it is a kind of powerful thing, but that's the problem. Having wisdom to know how to use that power is way more important than having that power. So you must take care at this point, like, it's a milestone. That's why you'll have to change from spiritual to enlightenment. The sacrifice at this point is very greater. You'll have to lose everything that you have made, all the knowledge that you have got. Like, you are gaining knowledge, you are making perceptions, getting knowledge, you'll have to lose it all at this moment. So next one, in order to awaken, first of all, you must realize that one is in a state of sleep, and in order to realize that one is indeed in a state of sleep, one must recognize and fully understand the nature of the forces which operate to keep one in the state of sleep or hypnosis. It is absurd to think that this can be done by seeking information from the very source which induces hypnosis. So again, with respect to FDE, so it's about element 1, and it is kind of with respect to the opposite path that I talked about, but I'll try to fit this thing in the path that I talked about, that is 1 to 9, because again, the concepts are same, the arrangement or the layout of it changes a bit. So before getting into all this, first of all, you must know that you need knowledge. Like, as I said, the first element is knowledge. So before gaining knowledge, you must know that you don't have knowledge. It's like verisimilitude, appearance of truth. You must know that you must be dissatisfied with the knowledge that you have. You must be curious about something, that, like, something exists that you don't know. You must be okay, you must be open to knowledge. So that is what is said. You must realize that you are asleep, that is, you must realize that you don't have the knowledge. So that is what it is talking about. And about this also, you cannot induce it from the hypnosis. So again, if you read my FTE, you will get to know about this thing that I always repeatedly talk about, that is being observer. So as I said, you'll have to observe the world initially to understand everything, you to get the perception and knowledge. So while observing the world, you will obviously become observer, and you will observe yourself also, as I said. And then you will obviously not be like getting the knowledge from the same source, because an observer is very much different from the thing that he is observing. So you're observing everything, you're observing the source, so you'll be different. Again, referring to element 6 and 7, spirituality and enlightenment, there's difference between them. They are very similar. People kind of confuse them, but they are different, at least in the vocabulary that I know. Again, I'm saying I'm not that good with words, so that is why I'm making things very clear. So at least with the vocabulary that I know. Intellect is, if you want to live happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Enlightenment is, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything that they've ever dreamed of, so that they can see that it's not the answer, by Jim Carrey. So again, this is what is referred by some what to say motivational speaker like Sandeep Masudi, that first you'll have to get all the stuffs like money and success in the life, so that you can realize that you don't need them for peace. But again, if you can get those realization by some other method, like I got by completion of my theory, that okay, now I have intellect, I was kind of satisfied with the amount of things that I had at that time. Like I had a theory that was internationally accepted in class 10th, so I was kind of satisfied with all the things that I had, but still I was not satisfied. I did not knew the answer of who am I and what is my existence. So that is what it is referring here. And talking about the guide path, that is this is specifically referring to. So in guide path also, if you go through Gita and all, you'll have to do all those stuff. Like in with respect to technical terms, again there are two things, Atma Bodh and Atma Gyan, or Bodh or Gyan in general. As I said, everything has two aspects. So Bodh is realization and Gyan is knowledge. With respect to path that I followed, that is 1 to 9, you first have Atma Gyan, that is knowledge of yourself. Like after spirituality, like you are focusing on knowledge initially, intellect. So that is what you have first, and then you have Atma Bodh, that is realization of what you are. So it goes opposite when you come from 9 to 1, as it's obvious, like the sense of going opposite on a path, you like assume it as a path. So the same thing is referred here. If you want come from up to down, then the teacher path, the guide path, the teacher or the stuff, it will just talk about the knowledge stuff. Anyone can just give you knowledge, they won't tell you about the realization stuff. You'll have to realization stuff on your own, you'll have to meditate on your own, you'll have to introspect on your own, you'll have to question yourself on your own. They will just tell you what to do. As I'm just telling you what to do, I'm telling you not to follow my path, it's not necessary. The books will say the same thing. You'll have to do all on your own. They can just guide you, they can just tell you what to do. They will not come and do it for you, kind of thing. So next path is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So it talks about element 3 4 with respect to its application, that is with respect to manipulation and illusions, level of manipulation, as I wrote in my rule book. So when you will realize that you are unconscious and free will is an illusion, you'll get this sentence very properly. Next one, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So this is kind of key elements to the everything that I'm talking about. You'll get to know this on your own if you go through, like if you read FDE, that you become observer. Like you are not the human that is having this spiritual existence, or you are not going to become anything after doing all these things. As I said, it's a journey, not a destination to get, because you are already there. So you are already a spiritual being, but you are having a human experience. So if you stop having the human experience, then you'll just left with the spiritual being. So that's talking about that. It's kind of the thing that you realize at the end of element 6. It's like this marks the end of element 6, like realizing what you are not and what you can be. Like element spirituality is realizing what you're not, and enlightenment is realizing what you are. So that's the end of element 6. Next one, the meaning of life is to find your gift, the purpose of life is to give it away. Talking with respect to FDE, the meaning of your life is to find your gift is all about element 1 to 6 till spirituality, using your intellect to introspect or to understand everything well enough to know what you are good at. And then the purpose of life is to give it away, that is enlightenment. There's no meaning to life, it ain't for others, so that's enlightenment. So there's no meaning to life if you don't give your gift away. Again, the sacrifice stuff, I cannot even emphasize more how important that stuff is. So again, it is in some different form, in poetry form. So it takes shattering of illusions for getting knowledge of enchantments, as after 3 element 4 comes. So as I said, when you know all of the illusions, then automatically your enchantments will go away from you. So when you will know illusions, you'll for sure not will be willing to live in illusions, and that's when you'll get to know that the illusions were powered by enchantments, and that is what I meant by knowledge of enchantments. It takes extinction of existence for realization of spiritual power. So extinction of existence is when at the element of realization. So as I said, when you have knowledge and perception and you will be decentral. As your enchantment gone, then you will be like completely empty with respect to existence. You will not know who you are. As I said, spirituality is about not knowing who you are. So it is extension of your existence, and that is what it takes for realization of spiritual power. Spiritual power, I mean, all the way of living decentrally from the world, like not being attached to anyone, what one call in general, and still having the powers of illusion and ways and all the manipulation skills. That is what I meant by power. It takes removal of reality for getting enlightened. Again, price sacrifice for enlightenment. Removal of reality, whatever you thought you were, when it's all removed, and it was mentioned in this one, you knew that you were a human being. So when you will completely remove the human being from you, then you will be able to become enlightened. And that is what I meant by removal of reality, removal of human being from you, and that's when you become enlightened. It takes a lot to know who you are. So it takes a lot with respect to sacrifices. Again, prices are not important. You should follow the guide's path. You can avoid the prices. The man who has anticipated the coming troubles takes away their power of when they arrive. So this is the thing that people make mystical about. People make a lot of things mystical with respect to spirituality. So after element 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, in element 5 and 6, that is realization, and mainly in spirituality, you understand, as I'm telling about, you understand and perceive and get to know everything around so well that you can anticipate them. I did it a lot of times. Like you know about humans, how humans work, how your friends would do react, how everything will work upon that. You can anticipate their behavior and anticipate kind of future. So that's what I meant by seeing future or reading other mind. You won't literally be reading others mind, but you'll be able to anticipate it because you are that much well learned with respect to how mind works. So that's what I meant by this thing. So this happens after element 1, 2 and 3, 4. This is again about the same thing as it was written here. Everything that I'm talking about philosophy, this is all I realized way earlier than I read. It's just that as I said, I got to know about terminologies of philosophy and all later on, and I opened Instagram and got to the exposure to this world later on. So as I wrote about this anticipation thing way earlier only, consciousness is struck and sense of existence came to mind. Anticipating possibilities began to make causalities inclined. So I wrote the same stuff but in a poetry form way before I read that line. So you are already enlightened, you are already spiritual being, you just need to remove the human experience. This enlightened part you'll have to remove. That does not mean you have to kill yourself, just for disclaimer and precaution person. You'll have to remove it with respect to realization level, internal level, and you'll have to just keep it on your external self and have to use it. Like with respect to I do on my persona system, I have all of my human forms in personas, skills and ability, but it's not me, it is just attached on me, and I use it with respect to how I can help people. So I know my gift and I use it for this. The French poet Argan said, by the time we learn to live, it's already too late. So at this point, I specifically want to talk about the general myth that people have that we should come in this field of spirituality and enlightenment after we get everything done in life, that is in the age of 50s and 60s. So okay, but I have that logic of Sandeep Maheshwari that it takes a lot of intellect to understand all these things, and that's why you need to develop it all throughout your life and be satisfied enough by or whatever you want to achieve, that is money and gym carry stuff. But again, if you can do that earlier, I'm telling you it will be way better, because by the time you will know all these things, as I said, it will be way too long, way too late to live all the things that you will be understanding. Like you will just die in 10 years if you start in 50. So start as fast as possible. It is just very hard to become what Jim Carrey said, like what Jim Carrey meant, and it is very hard to develop that level of intellect and curiosity for things like who am I. So it is hard, but if you do it earlier, it will be good. It is easy when you have gone through all of the stuff all through your life, because you are already done various things to be decentralized from, to be detached from them. But again, easy way does not give much, it's not much good. So that's all with respect to meme review or post review. I don't think I should extend this video much. I know it wasn't a good video with respect to quality of video, but I hope this will be good enough till I make a good one with respect to my FDE, or I have a talk about my FDE with someone. So That's all for now. Have a good day and enjoy. Bye bye.